My name is Darshan Pillay, and this is my economics presentation on Vietnam. Overview. So Vietnam is a quite dense population that makes a large percentage of its money in agriculture, industry, and services. A large percentage of the population is in poverty, as it's about 11%. Which is of 91 million, which is the total population. That is about 9 million people, quite a high number. Government sector. So we have a couple of the GDP. So the official GDP exchange rate is $198.8 billion in 2015. We have the revenues, which is $39.61 billion, and expenditures, which is $47.39 billion. The budget surplus is negative. The budget deficit is negative 3.9 of GDP, which means the GDP is actually shrinking per year. We have the GDP real growth rate, which is 0.65%, which means, and 6% and 5.4%. These are over the past years. In 2015, it's 6.5. Circular flow. What we have here is a couple of data that's used in circular flow. We have the GDP, mainly the household consumption, which is 66.5% of the population. We have the government consumption, which is 6.2%. The investment in fixed capital is 24.4%, and so on. We see, after doing some research, I found that the total amounts of wages made per year over the entire population is 3.2, per person is 3.2 million VND, which is around about $150 per month. This is the average population per month, and it's differentiated by many factors. If you take a look at the simple 2A flow economics diagram I made, you see the households on the left, the firms on the right, the consumption in income. So the income here is 150, and the consumption, which I found by taking 66.5% of 150, it's $100.05, and I simply just put it there. It shows that the firms are not making much money as they are paying their workers, which means firms are losing quite a bit of money. So production of Vietnam. So Vietnam has three major productions. Agriculture, which you see they make rice, coffee, rubber, and all these others that you see on the screen. Then you have industry, which is mainly making stuff, machines, mining. So it's very the jobs that they do are very typical for countries that are still developing. Next, what I have underneath is GDP composition, showing how much each sector makes. So agriculture makes about 17.4, industry makes 38.8, and largest is services, which is 43.7. Next, I have what's the imports and exports, and you see per year, the amount of money spent on exports is $158.7 billion in 2015. And usually what they export is clothes, shoes, electronics, seafood, crude oil, rice, coffee, wooden products, and machinery. And they do a lot of exporting with the US, with China, Japan, and South Korea. But mostly with the US. The imports they use is $150.4 billion in 2015 was used on imports. And what they import, the commodities that they import are machinery and equipment, petroleum products, steel products, raw materials for clothing and shop industries, electronics, plastics, and automobiles. And the major they import with China, South Korea, Japan, Thailand, Singapore, and the US. And the major one of that is China. So what you see here is kind of what they're doing is, because services is a major thing, so that's, they need to make things. So obviously they import the raw materials that they actually need. And then you see the exports is basically they're exporting the stuff that they have made and and kind of exporting the services that they have completed. Over here we have the citation for the websites I found this information from, and where I got some of the images. Thank you.